In this part of the video, we are going to understand the implementation of Hibernate JPA with the Spring Boot. First thing is we are going to create an instance with respect to Spring Initializer. In the Spring Initializer, we are going to use Maven based. So here I'm gonna give com.jpa.example. So test. So artifacts I'm going to test JPA. To make it too big, com.jpa. So it is in jar. I do need a jar because we are not going with a web-based application. I'm gonna add the dependencies. One is I am not using Lombok, so we are using JPA. See, another dependency which is called as hibernate. Another is MySQL driver for the connectivity. So we are going to use all the three things. Hibernate validator is not much needed, but when it comes to the some part of the validation, we can use that. So I'm just gonna click on generate. So now it has got generated and it is storing in test example. So I'm just extracting here. It has extracted. So I'll go to Eclipse. In this we'll start importing. So existing Maven project. So I'll just go with not in workspace, from downloads. So there is an test example. So we are going to load so from that particular test JPA. So we just trying to load Spring base. So this is how the import has been done. So now you can see that it is started downloading with the artifacts and the sources doc and all. So in the meantime, we will just understand what are the initial configurations are basically needed. First is we need to have the Spring based application properties to be added to it. So as it is loading, it has loaded all the stuff. Now we will go with the steps. So in application properties, we will add the Spring properties into it. Now the Spring data source URL, driver, username, password, SQL, show SQL, which is true, and whatever we used to do it in Hibernate configurations, we are going to do with respect to Spring JPA. Now we need to. This is the part of configurations which is already done. Now we will start creating the classes. So I'm gonna create the customer class. In this specific customer class, we will tell int of customer ID. So next string of name, comma, address. So here I'm gonna specify that these two are So you need to create a Java bean. So I'm gonna use generate setter and getter methods. Setter and getter methods. So even I'm gonna create the toString, which is exactly needed. So I'll keep some space. So source generate toString to represent a particular object. It will represent it in toString format. Now this is a specific Java bean style class. Now for this particular class I need to specify that it is an entity. Okay, entity which is actually based on Java persistence. So Jakarta persistence. Next is I need to specify which represents to the table. Okay, so the table of name. So I'm gonna tell that what is the name it's gonna represent with respect to the table. And here whenever it comes to an ID, so now I am going to specify the ID. So it means that it is gonna have a particular properties with respect to ID. And another one is that I'm gonna use the auto generated so when we specify, this is called generated value. I want to generate it with respect to the ID. So this is generated type. So what type of generation which has to be done? Generated type. So I am specifying string with name and address as usual, and this is a complete implementation of a particular entity class. So I am going to tell that this is what is going to communicate with respect to database to a particular Java programming. Okay, at entity, at table, ID, and generated value is ID is basically very much important to represent which one is actually acting as a primary key also. So this is, we don't need much of Java persistent for each and every column to be represented. If you have changes in that, you can do that. You can specify at column, validation also can be specified to it. Now we will create an interface for an for repository. So we are going to use customer repository. Okay, so which extends, I just wanted to extend JPA repository. So I'm gonna extend JPA repository. It is already there with respect to Spring Framework. Now you can see that this interface is already done. So I am going to tell here customer, and what is the ID type? It is of integer type. So I will change it to long, right? I'll change it to long. In customer also, what I will do here is I will change it to long, because I need to tell the entity type to be with respect to the long database. Generating setter and getter methods, select. So it is gonna create the data type based on long. Okay, now I have created an interface customer repository. Now we go to the JPA repository. What exactly it is saying? See, it is using CRUD repository. So it extends an interface which extends the CRUD repository. It is having flush, save all, and flush. There are certain methods which is there: delete all in batch, delete all, delete. You have adding some of the deprecated, find all. So find all. So you can have various different methods which is already predefined. CRUD operations is already predefined inside this, right? Now we are going to use this and create a service. So as we are going to create a customer service for the repository, we are going to do for the repository. So I'm going to specify it is as a service. Okay. Now I need to use customer repository, right? Customer repository. So this is actually an interface object which you are going to do it, but we are going to use auto wired. So now what does this auto wired will do is auto wired will create an object and it will gonna create this specific what do you say, instantiation of that particular interface. Now in this particular service we are going to create the methods. So we are the methods for adding, deleting, and we are going to do some of the operations into it. So we are going to create a particular method which does an insert. So I will do insert customer. So in this ID, name, address, which is as a parameters we are going to take. So here ID is long, name is string type, string, right? Now if you want to insert a data into the particular what do you say, onto the objects, then we have to create an object of that particular customer. So customer C is equal to new customer. So we are going to have a persistence object to be stored onto the JPA repository. So we need to create an object C dot set customer ID, C dot set name, C dot set address. So this is an object which is filled with the details, which is actually creating an entity for a particular table. It is gonna communicate. So C dot, not C dot, it is customer repository dot save. So I'm going to send an entity called C and I'm going to save it back. So this is the particular process for using the repository. It gets saved back. Now I'm going to create another method which is called void display. So display customer. So in here it is actually list of customer you are going to get, right? So I'm gonna specify this list of customer. I think we need to import. Now in return what I can do is return customer repo dot find all of all the customers. So now I am getting all the particular customers, return it back as a list. Now it is like we are going to create a certain methods which is only used during runtime. So it does a configurations and it will do the rest of the process. So this is where the usage of repository will come into picture. Now coming down to this main framework. So here what I'm going to do is we are going to create a customer service. We are going to use the service. Okay, so we have done a particular instantiation of the service, which is actually a real class where we are having implementations of the repository for a particular table. So like this, now we can have cs dot insert customer, which is actually present. So long, we are going to specify some number. Next I'm going to specify the name. I'm gonna tell the address, right? So when we are having a change the method I'm just casting it, sorry. Now so the list of customer, now how do I display back? So I'm going to use this particular method, which is, we have to do it in a menu driven program, so where we can have one for adding, one for thing. So ls is equal to, I'm going to use ls dot display customer. So the particular list, we are going to import it. Next, how do we display? I'm just using system.out for display. So here I'm going to use ls for displaying back onto the screen. Now, as we are having the entity is ready, we are having an repository which is implemented with respect to the interface. Now in the service we have done an auto wired, and the initial configuration is also done with the properties, application properties, which is get loaded back, and in the service this auto wired will take care of the initial properties, and as well as it will be doing auto configuration for this particular repository, which is taking a JPA repository as the reference interface. And using this particular object, we are going to create the method. So we have created a method called insert customer. Another one is display customer. So in the whole specific process, it is like we are actually doing an the complete implementation without using any kind of burden on writing queries, custom queries, writing custom queries onto it, and we are not taking so much of writing pure Java program, and less concentrating onto the repository which is actually present. So with the JDBC connection for writing queries, again we have to open the connection, close the connection, and also we need to maintain some of the structure for identifying that this query has to get exit, this is what the output I'm going to get. So all those things have been reduced when it comes to this particular JPA repository. It is actually nullifying the total struggle how the developers used to do it. So it has been reduced to very much null. In our application, we are going to call this specific methods, and we are going to concentrate on our business logics, working process only. Right. Okay, now we will try to run and execute. Now you can see that there is an Spring Boot, because I have used this Spring Boot line and Spring Boot application. I think it is giving me some kind of error, like cannot okay, so because I am having some kind of error in here, wherein alter table customer, add column customer big data not null, auto increment via JDBC. Okay, fine, I am having a particular table which is in customer. So what I will do is I will just check. Okay, I am having a particular table called customer. So what I will do is I will do drop table customer for prime bean. Okay, now I will rerun it. It has to reconnect, so I think it is a not a yeah, it has created the particular table which is an primary key of that. Uh, Here with the persistent unit is called default. Okay, so cannot invoke customer service 19 test JPA customer. Okay, so because of this cannot invoke because it is getting null values. So I'll just come back to that. So it is using an persistent which is null. So it is telling that it is not able to load customer repo. As we are doing with the Spring Boot based application configuration, so we are going to request the Spring application to get us the configuration. So we'll use configuration application context from the Spring application.run. So now we are having the Spring application context. Configuration application context. So not this one. So we need the application context from the application. So this is an application context. So we got an application context from with respect to Spring application. So we are going to take a bean, request the bean with for the doing the next particular process. So the customer service, so CS is equal to, I'm gonna take the bean. So from the context I will gonna request get bean of what is the class which is called as customer service dot class. So as we are requesting a particular bean to be taken up, now the service which is actually instantiated and the total process has been taken up in here. Now you can see that customer service object will be filled with the JPA repository details and all. Now we want to insert, so we will do the operations of insert. So I'm gonna use long 1 2 3. Next I'm going to tell VCE. Next Mysuru Road. Next we have inserted into the table. So here the initial configurations will be taken care by the hibernate. Now we need to display, so we need to display it back. So how we can do is, what is the return type I'm going to get is list. So from the list, so here cs dot display the content details. So from the customer, so we are going to display it back. So how do we display it back? I can use for customer object, so ls. Here I'm gonna print out with respect to customer. So here I'm going to display the objects which is actually retrieved from the database back onto the screen. So we are going to use the service from an Spring application context. So I'll just run. Now we will see initially how does it actually responds to the initial configurations. So now we have actually taken the application context. Now you can see here that it has opened up the connection. So now we can see in a Spring Boot application, so you are having a select statement which is done created. Next it will do an insert of the customer, then afterwards again the select statement has been done. Now you can see that there are two customers which has been added to it. So you have customer ID 1 and 2. We don't really need to insert into the particular customer, so we don't need the ID. I will just remove this ID because the ID is auto generated, right? The ID is auto generated, so we are not going to use this. So whenever we are trying to insert, so we are going to insert with okay. So I'm gonna insert again. So we're just changing the particular customer details, and again we are displaying back onto the screen. So I will tell you the most significant how Hibernate will operate onto it. You're actually checking out with respect to the Hibernate, so it is going to take up the pool of connections. Now you can see that it has created the what do you say, details, and it has got retrieved all the particular details. So this is how it is being done. So if you have not having any table, so it creates a particular table, it will does all those particular process, right? Now you can see in a particular JPA that it is opening a particular connection, it is completely working with that particular connection. Next it is going to shut down the whole connection with respect to database. So it is taking care of the opening and persistence. It is going to shut down the whole process, and it is also stopping the whole program properly without causing any kind of problem. So this is what the major significance with respect to the JPA. So this is how we have understood how to write a particular program with respect to the JPA configuration. So initially what I have done is I just directly created an object and I was trying it out, but it is not the right way, because we are using a Spring Boot application. So boot has to boot will take all these particular things as an initial configuration. So it will take it as an beans only. So we have a bean which is called as customer, another bean is customer service. So it will take all the entities. So Spring Boot will take all the particular classes which is defined as a service or as an entity. So all those things will take it as an bean context. So we need to request from the context the get bean. So when we are doing an context.getBean, what does it do is it will actually check with each and every annotations. So it will check with auto wired, it will do with respect to service, it will take initial configurations and it will work. So this is what the major part of what you say Spring Boot application. So auto wired will actually take care, means the Spring Boot will take care of the what you say initial configurations and filling up the particular object with the JPA repository. So this is the total working process. How do we run the JPA program? Thank you.